I am going to be ranking these albums today. I recently did this with my favorite band, Bullet for My Valentine. If you guys haven't checked out that video, make sure you guys go check that out. I really enjoyed making that video, and it made me want to continue to make this type of videos, so I'm going to be doing this with all of my favorite bands. I'd consider Asking Alexandria like my second favorite band, so I'm probably going to be going in order of like my top 10 favorite bands, and I might do more videos if you guys comment bands that I would be interested in doing these videos on. If you guys missed the Bullet for My Valentine album tier list video, basically the rules are simple. I created a tier list with all of Asking Alexandria's main albums, which do not include deluxe versions or EPs or anything like that. In the Bullet for My Valentine one, I did include the deluxe editions, but after I got done making that video, I realized that there was no point in doing that, so from here on out, I will be doing just their main albums. And yeah, the rules are pretty simple. I got 5 tiers on this tier list that I created. We got perfect, great, good, bad, and horrible. Basically, we're going to be going through all of Asking Alexandria's albums. I'll give my quick opinions on them, and we will put them in a tier. Before we get into talking about these albums, I wanted to ask you guys quickly, if you wouldn't mind, please consider subscribing to the channel. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers. Once I hit 5,000 subscribers, I would like to do a 5K special Q&A video. I know that's pretty stereotypical when most YouTubers do Q&A videos, but I would really like to do some type of special video for once I hit 5,000 subscribers. It's going to happen sooner or later, and if you guys want to make that happen sooner, please consider subscribing to the channel if you guys enjoy this metal-related content. But anyways, guys, without further ado, let's get into Asking Alexandria's first album, their debut album, Stand Up and Scream. Stand Up and Scream is one of my favorite albums of all time, definitely in my top 10, maybe even top 5 albums, to be honest. It is one of the greatest debut albums of all time. That's something I'm going to be saying a lot through these album ranking tier list videos, because a lot of my favorite bands have great debut albums. Yeah, one of the greatest debut albums, one of the best gym albums. You can go to the gym and start Stand Up and Scream from front to back, just hitting the chest press, hitting the treadmill, the elliptical. You can do anything in the gym to this album. It is honestly probably the greatest gym album of all time. And the reason for that, I think, is just the energy in Stand Up and Scream. I have never listened to an album other than Stand Up and Scream that gave me the same feeling that this album gives me. It's not my favorite album of all time. It's one of my favorites, but something about it, it's just, there's no album that has the same energy as Stand Up and Scream. I think it has a lot to do with Danny's lows in Stand Up and Scream. We know that Stand Up and Scream is the album that, one of the albums that started this era of music. But yeah, Stand Up and Scream is a heavily influential album to metalcore in general. You see all the time now on TikTok, bands being like, if you guys like old Asking Alexandria, you will like us. And there's just so many bands nowadays are so heavily influenced by this album alone, not just Asking Alexandria. Most Asking Alexandria fans are fans because of this album. And I can't say that I'm any different, because I believe the very first song I heard by Asking Alexandria was A Prophecy back in like 2016, and I've been a fan ever since. This album doesn't have a single skip on it. Every song on it is a 10 out of 10 banger, even the intro. I could sit here and talk about this album all day long. Maybe someday I will make like a individual video on my favorite albums and give my whole rundowns on them, because if I wanted to, I could go through the whole track list of Stand Up and Scream and tell you guys why certain songs are good, some are better than others, and blah, 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 everything I like about the album. But this video would be like an hour long if I did that with every album. So I just want to give my kind of quick opinions, my overall opinions on these albums. So with that being said, Stand Up and Scream, man, that has to go in perfect. Moving on to their second album, Reckless and Relentless. One of my biggest internal battles over the last 8 years of being a fan of Asking Alexandria would be whether Stand Up and Scream or Reckless and Relentless is my favorite Asking album. I love Stand Up and Scream and I love Reckless and Relentless pretty much exactly the same. It really just depends, like, right? It's kind of the same thing I said in my Boulevard Valentine video with the Poison and Scream Aim Fire. It just depends what kind of mood I'm in, whether I like one more than the other. But I think majority of the time, I'd say I enjoy Reckless and Relentless more than Scream Aim Fire. I think Reckless and Relentless is just way more polished, better songwriting, has a lot more diversity. Honestly, Stand Up and Scream is just the whole album is just a really long breakdown, to be honest. I think Reckless and Relentless is more of a like standard, polished, clean album. Better production, better vocal mixing on Danny's vocals. The guitars sound more crunchier, just better structures in the songs overall. And my favorite song by Asking Alexandria is Breathless, and it is on Reckless and Relentless, so that kind of weighs my opinion on this album a lot. So yeah, I'm going to be putting Reckless and Relentless also at perfect, but I am going to be putting it before Stand Up and Scream because I do prefer Reckless and Relentless. Moving on to I gotta stop using that word, moving on. That can't be my transition word this whole video. Next up, we got Asking's third album, From Death to Destiny. Honestly, this is a lot of Asking's fans' favorite Asking album. I don't really get it. I love From Death to Destiny, honestly, don't get me wrong. I love the album, but it does kind of shock me when people say it's their favorite album, because it's really good. It's a really good album, but it just doesn't live up to Reckless and Relentless for me. I know the band was going through a very hard time during the writing process of From Death to Destiny. There was a lot of just drama throughout the band at that point, and obviously we know Danny left the band after From Death to Destiny. I remember the very first time I listened to From Death to Destiny all the way through. It was back in 2016 after I found Asking Alexandria, and I listened to the whole album after listening to their first two albums, and I remember my thought being that From Death to Destiny just didn't flow very well, in my opinion. I feel like the songs are just very thrown together. There wasn't a nice flow throughout the album. It was just like a bunch of songs thrown on an album track list, and they're like, here you go, here's an album. That's not to say that these songs are bad. They're not bad. I love every song on From Death to Destiny, but it just doesn't flow like an album, you know what I mean? I can say with 100% certainty that I enjoy every song on From Death to Destiny. It's just the sound of it is not something I prefer. Obviously, I prefer the sound of Reckless and Relentless because it is a little bit more metalcore, a little bit more heavier, just a little bit more my style. And that does make sense why some people might like From Death to Destiny more, because it is a little bit more hard rock with some metalcore influence, a little less screaming, a little less brutal screaming. A lot of Danny's screams in From Death to Destiny are different. His screaming style really changed on the From Death to Destiny album. And to be honest, I really do like Danny's singing style and From Death to Destiny. He put a lot more of his southern country accent twang into this album. A lot of the choruses and singing parts have a lot more of Danny's gritty, raspy, grumbly kind of singing voice. We didn't really get any of that in their first two albums. So overall, I really like From Death to Destiny, but I am going to be honest and put it at great. I love it, but just not as much as their other two albums. So after From Death to Destiny, we know that Danny Worsnop left Asking Alexandria, and his replacement was Dennis Stoff. Shortly after recruiting Dennis to the band, they came out with the album The Black. I like The Black. I do. I used to like it a lot more than I do recently. I used to really enjoy it. There's a lot of good songs on The Black. Sometimes It Ends, Let It Sleep, The Black. Just all of the songs on it are really good. I do feel like The Black has some weaker songs like Circled by the Wolves, Undivided, Will Be Okay, Just a Slave to Rock and Roll. Those are good songs, but they are a little bit weaker than the rest of the album, in my opinion. I like Dennis Stoff as a vocalist. He's a good vocalist. He did good at keeping Danny's style on Asking Alexandria. They have a pretty similar style with the low guttural screams and the higher pitched singing, the soaring vocals in the chorus. He did good at keeping Danny's style while making it his own. I will always prefer Danny's vocals to Dennis's. Honestly, I just think Danny has a lot more versatility and just a bigger voice overall. That's not to discredit Dennis at all. He's a very talented vocalist. I just don't prefer his voice as much as I do Danny's. So yeah, I like The Black. I honestly sometimes wish that we could have gotten another album with Dennis, because the album is good. It is a good album. If I made this tier list video maybe 4 years ago, I would probably put The Black in the great category, but at this point in my life and where I am with music, I think I'm going to put The Black in the good category. By the way, guys, if you have already typed a negative, hateful comment or plan to do so, just don't. You guys can discuss your thoughts on these albums with me in the comments maturely and nicely without getting negative and hateful. Moving on to Asking Alexandria's self-titled record. This is when Danny joined the band again. Like I said, I would have enjoyed another album with Dennis, but we got Danny back, and he's one of my favorite vocalists, so I am happy about that. I really like their self-titled record, honestly. Now that I have kind of grown up a little bit in these last 8 years and I've matured a little bit more, I've learned to love this album a lot more than I used to. Back in the day, I just kind of liked it. And I was like, oh, it's not as heavy as Stand Up and Scream and Reckless and Relentless. I don't like it that much. But now that I'm older and I've learned to love Danny's softer tones a lot more than I used to, I genuinely love this album. I think some of Asking Alexandria's best lyrics are on this album, honestly. Some of their best ideas for songs and just lyrical content in general, it's really good on this album, whether Danny wrote all the lyrics or if Ben Bruce had a hand in the lyrics on this album. The lyrics are great. This album is a lot softer than all of their previous albums. There are some heavy moments on this song. There is not really any heavy songs to say. I think that's why a lot of Asking Alexandria's fan base doesn't like this album and other future Asking albums, is because yes, there are heavy moments, but there aren't heavy songs. Because like or Asking Alexandria's songs off of Stand Up and Scream and Reckless and Relentless, or even From Death to Destiny, they had songs that were just heavy throughout the whole thing. But on the self-titled record, most of the heavies were just heavy moments throughout soft songs. But like I said, now that I'm older, I've learned to really appreciate this album. There are some amazing songs on this album, like Alone in a Room, Into the Fire, Vultures, Where Did It Go? They all have insanely catchy, huge choruses that I love. This is probably the most torn I've been on ranking an album so far. I'm either going to put it in the great or good category, but I'm not sure whether to put it in great behind From Death to Destiny or to put it in good in front of The Black. You guys might not be thinking it doesn't make that much of a difference, but to me it does, because basically if I put it in great behind From Death to Destiny, I'm just saying I don't like it as much as From Death to Destiny. I like it more than The Black. I'm trying to determine whether I like From Death to Destiny a lot more than the self-titled. Honestly, I think I'm going to put it in great behind From Death to Destiny. I think that's fair. Now, this is where things get weird with their album Like a House on Fire.
All I wanted was violence to put the shades on your fires.
This is most people's least favorite Asking Alexandria album. Listen, I don't want you guys to get the wrong impression. I am not somebody who only loves heavy music and only loves heavy music from Asking Alexandria. A lot of my favorite Asking songs are their softer songs. But I am just not a huge fan of this album. And it's sad to say because I love Asking Alexandria. I'd say they're my second favorite band of all time. But I never come back to this album. I don't think I've listened to it all the way through, maybe twice. I think I've listened to the whole album twice. Obviously, there are some songs on it that I enjoy, but overall, I just don't love the sound of it. It's very experimental, and I'm glad they have an album in their catalog that is very different. I hate to call any of their work bad, but I can't just be, you know, completely, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna have to put it in the bad category, because it's not bad, but I don't like it. So somewhere in my subconscious, I do believe it's a bad album. I'm probably gonna get hated on for that. Next up, we have See What's on the Inside. I think this album is actually very underrated. I think a lot of fans gave up on Ask the Alexandria and they didn't give this album a chance, and I feel bad for those fans because I really fucking love this album. Every chorus on this album is fucking incredible, honestly. Alone Again is a crazy good song. You've Made It This Far is a crazy emotional song. It's amazing. See What's on the Inside is probably my favorite song on this album. It's just a really good hard rock album. I think I'm gonna put See What's on the Inside in the good category in front of the black. I feel bad about that because it is a really good album, and I don't know whether I should just put it behind the self-titled and great or not. Fuck it. We'll move it. We'll put it in a great behind the self-titled. Now, last but not least, we have Asking's latest album, Where Do We Go From Here? If you guys didn't see, I did a full album reaction to this album when it came out. If you guys want to see that album, it is somewhere on my channel. I love this album. It was honestly great, and I love how many people got shocked by this album because it was relatively heavy and it was a great record. You see what I did there? Off the bat, I think I'm going to put Where Do We Go From Here in the great category, but once again, I'm struggling to decide where to put it. I'm feeling very strongly about putting it below From Death to Destiny and in front of the self-titled. That's kind of where I'm feeling right now. Yeah, I don't know. How does that look? Take a look at this, and what do you think about it? In perfect, we have Reckless and Relentless and Stand Up and Scream. In great, we have From Death to Destiny, Where Do We Go From Here, the self-titled, and See What's on the Inside. And then in good, we have the black, and in bad, we have Like a House on Fire. I feel pretty good about that. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think about my album tier list ranking of Ask the Alexandria down in the comments down below. Like I said earlier, when you're commenting, don't be negative. Just give me your thoughts, and I'll be happy to discuss these albums with you and let you know why I think I like some better than others, and just overall all my opinions on it. Let me know what you guys think without being hateful. Also, guys, I am going to put a link in my description to this tier list. I made this tier list public, so if you guys want to go do this tier list on your own, go check out the link in the description, do the tier list, and then send me a picture on Instagram, and I'll let you know what I think about your tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a good time making it. I think the next band I'm going to make one of these videos on is probably going to be Motionless in White or Of Mice and Men, because those are like some of my favorite bands also, and I think I'm just going to go in order of my top 10 favorite bands. And then once we run out of bands, I'll ask you guys what band I should do next. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the future.